Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Learn with Jason. Today on the show, we have Moriel Schottlender. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello. Great to be here.
I thought we were just going to get like a stage wave.
I was waving the wrong. See, this is what right to left. I was waving the wrong way, and it was outside the screen. So I'm kind of.
I am super excited to have you on. I've been following you on Twitter for a while. I have no idea about this world of right to left. I am unfortunately a typical monolingual American. I only speak like bad Spanish, and I have no experience with right to left languages. So today's going to be a lot of fun. But before we talk about that, I actually want to talk about you a little bit. So to everybody who's not familiar with your work, could you give us a little bit of a background?
Sure. So I'm Moriel. Hello. I'm a systems architect at Wikimedia, which means that I'm kind of trying to think about how Wikipedia can move into the future, which is a whole thing in itself that we can talk about maybe over drinks some other time. And I've been building interfaces for a long time, especially for Wikipedia, specifically for right to left users and other languages. So Wikipedia takes languages very seriously. We support 400 languages and a mix of those languages. We're going to see what that means soon. But it does mean that we want to make sure that everybody can edit in whatever language they're in, whether they have whatever script or whatever direction. Edit and read. So we've been working on right to left stuff for a while. And I'm also a right to left user. So my original language is Hebrew, which is right to left. And even as a user, when I started dealing with all those right to left stuff as a developer, I was surprised that it was this deep and unsupported well. Because one of the things that happen is that when things are not supported well online or in general in technology, users stop expecting, which is what happened to me too. So we're going to see what that means and kind of how to maybe try and mitigate that when you're creating your own software, but that's kind of where it comes from.
Yeah.
So I was so surprised that I started delving into it a lot more, and this is where.
Well, and it's amazing. Like one of the things that I love about software is that, we all, I think when we're young, think that we will get to a point where we've learned it all. And then I think the sign of experience is when you realize that you can rabbit hole on one piece of the internet for an entire career, right? And I love that. It's one of my favorite things is that you can just go so incredibly deep, and you'll never find the bottom. There's always a little bit more to dig.
Or backwards in the case of right to left.
Fair enough. So I guess maybe at the very highest level, let's just set some context, because for a lot of folks, like right to left is a relatively new concept for me. I didn't even know that it was a thing, right? So could you maybe just set a little bit of context about what is right to left in the context of the internet?
Sure. So when you read a language, write a language, when you look at the page, you as a left to right speaker expect things to start from the left. So you read English from the left to the right. The beginning of things start on the left, usually left top. The computer also expects things to start there. But in languages that are right to left, like Arabic, Farsi, Urdu, Hebrew, the language starts from the right-hand side. Okay. And so we read the text from right to left. But that is not the only thing that happens, right? Because when your language starts from right to left, the way of thinking is also kind of flipped around. Or for me, normal, and everybody else is flipped, right? It depends on perspective.
Sure.
Which means that things that you expect to be in the beginning. So one of the reasons, for example, why logos are up top on the left is because users' eyes tend to go to the beginning, right? To the top left. So you would expect to see kind of like the top thing there, and then menus and stuff like that go by the expectation of the user. Users who speak right to left and read right to left and deal with right to left automatically go the other way. And the amount of time, even though I am online for many, many years in English, the amount of time that I've been doing it too, even though I know to expect on the left, just automatically go to the right is incredible, because it's a brain thing, right? Like it's
Sure, yeah.
a changed model of the way you think.
Yeah, I mean, you can teach yourself to write left-handed, but if you're a right-handed person, you're always going to reach with your right hand by default. You know, like no matter how much you train it, right?
Right. So here's an even better thing. So I grew up in a right to left language where you read right to left, but I'm left-handed.
Ah.
So now you have a couple of things that go even more twisty brainy. I'll give you an example. A lot of things kind of flip around when you deal with right to left, because you try to think on the other way, right? So people think of like arrows or icons in general, right? Like, you know, you have an icon, well, we'll show it a certain way for left to right people. And when it's right to left, we'll flip it. And then there's a bit of a discussion about what kind of icons flip and what not.
Yeah.
And there's always an interesting thing about a specific icon, the check mark. So the check mark, right, will go, there's a check, and let's say a list that has checks on it. If I ask, and I do that a lot in my lectures, I say, okay, everybody raise their hands and do a check in the air. What would happen is that most people will do, I'll try to fit into the camera, we'll do this, right?
Right.
Which is usually the way you put it on the webpage. I will do, where's the camera? Here, this, because I'm left-handed. And I won't be alone. And even left to right people will do that. So some icons, you know what I mean? Like flip around, not only based on what language you speak, but where your hand is, which makes a lot of questions about how do things look online, or what do things look like online? Very, very interesting and complicated.
Absolutely. Wait, I mean, I'm already intimidated, and we've gotten to check marks.
I know. And I think let's take a look at kind of like how things look like. If let's open up Wikipedia.
Sure. Let me switch over to this view here. And okay, so before we start, because I will forget if I don't do this right now, let's do a shout out to our captioner. We've got Amanda back with us today. Thank you, Amanda. She's writing down all the things that we say for anybody who needs the captions. She's from White Coat Captioning, and that's made possible through the support of our sponsors. We've got Netlify, Fauna, Hasura, and Auth0 all kicking in to make that possible for us. You can find that on the homepage of the site. While you're clicking on things on the internet, make sure you go and follow Moriel on Twitter. And with that, I think we can, you said open up Wikipedia.
Right. So let's open up English Wikipedia. So
okay, English Wikipedia. Here I am. Yeah,
that's the first one. All right. So you can see the structure of the page. We all know that page. We have the logo on the left-hand side, the menu on the left-hand side, and then on the top right, you have kind of like, you know, a user menu. Right? Mm-hmm. And then the content. So the content and all of it is English. So you kind of expect left to right. You kind of expect that flow to continue. And that is what happens. If you start a new tab though, and now let's go to ar.wikipedia.org. So that is the Arabic Wikipedia.
Let's just close that. Okay. Okay. So it's immediately a much different experience.
It's flipped, or at least it looks like it's completely flipped, and you can kind of compare. The logo is on the right-hand side on the top, which is where, right, like a right to left brain kind of like tries to look for the beginning, because that's where we start reading. The menus are exactly the opposite. So you have the menu on the right-hand side, and then the user menu on the top left, right? The search, if you even look at the search bar, the icon, do you see the icon of the... It used to be, so this is one of the arguments about icons that we're doing. Should this flip or not?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so it doesn't flip.
Nope. Because you're holding a magnifying glass regardless of how you read, I guess, right? Like I would hold it differently because I'm left-handed, but that has nothing to do with right to left. So, but if you go into like the editing screen, which we're gonna look at similar things later, but if you go into like editing screen or things like that, a lot of the icons will change because it does depend, right, on the language. So if you have bullet list, then in English it will be from left to right, but then when you switch to right to left, the bullet list icon will have to flip around to be from right to left, because
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah, because that would be, yeah, so like the bullet point here. And then let's see, are there any bullet points here? Yeah, here's a bullet point.
That's right.
Yeah, okay. All right, so a lot of things to think about here. Also, just what a beautiful handwritten, like what a beautiful language. I never actually look at other languages, and this looks like art, not handwriting. Okay, so Nikki's asking about top to bottom as well, which is not what we're talking about today. But is there one that you know off the top of your head that I could pull up to show that?
I actually do not, like in a web page. I had an example and I don't have it in front of me. We can maybe follow up on Twitter later, but that is a whole other challenge too, because top to bottom can also be top to bottom, left to right, or top to bottom, right to left. So now you're dealing with a whole change of like, where do I even start reading this? And it really depends on the users and where they expect things.
No kidding. Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's... Okay, so I can see how this can become a whole, like, this is a rabbit hole.
Yeah, I was trying to make a lightweight introduction before I completely twist your brain around. But we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, okay, so we know, like, and just kind of looking between these two, you can tell this is Wikipedia, right? But you can also tell that it's been very thoughtfully changed to match the expectations of somebody who reads from right to left. I imagine this is not a common experience.
Unfortunately not. But there's a whole bunch of challenges that goes into supporting right to left languages. I think the first one is just recognizing that this is a viable market that you should support. I think a lot of websites just forget that or just deprioritize it for various reasons. And there's a lot of users. We're not just talking about a very small niche. And I would still say that you should support it even if it was a small niche, and yet it's not, right? But
right.
A lot of websites that just don't. And some websites that when they do, they kind of afterthought it. It's kind of like, well, so we just flip everything.
Right. Well, and when you say this is not a small niche, like this is like how many people in the world are reading right to left? This is not a small number of people.
No. So somewhere between 500 million to 1 billion. I don't have numbers here. I think on RTL WTF, I was trying to keep updated numbers. We have, so if you go to the intro,
oh, sorry. Back to...
So I'm trying to look at the screen. Yeah, the green button. So what is this? That has kind of like an introduction, should have bullet points with the number. Yeah.
Here.
So, and as you can see, I was trying to give you the experience of what right to left people experience when things are not supported. So things are a little flipped. And the language is a little more difficult to read because it's English that you start reading left to right, but it is aligned right as if it's right to left language. So you can see some of the experiences that we go through when we have websites that don't support right to left. But you can also see more or less the numbers. You have 350 million Arabic speakers, at least 110 Farsi. So it adds up. It's a lot.
This is a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is also like and so looking at this as an English speaker reading right to left right now, this is the experience that you're having the vast majority of the time. Is this really kind of disconcerting? Like, why is everything backwards?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So building a little empathy through reading this way, because this is rough. Like I have a hard time even scanning this.
Yeah. This is basically what we need to do, but it gets even better because I keep learning about new bugs that are happening before kind of talks and stuff, because I'm trying to like, let's test this and see if I can. So things are also inconsistent, which I think is the biggest problem. So we don't support right to left at all. When we do support, it's an afterthought, and then it's also inconsistent. So even things like Facebook and Twitter, we can argue about how much there's a support. It's just the way that the support is not consistent between them. So it's hard as a user to expect. Like you kind of need to learn the system as you go to say, oh, this is how they do it, which already is a little bit difficult, but there's not a whole lot to do about this except for maybe convince them all to coalesce on one method, which probably won't happen. But the biggest problem is that if I post something on Facebook, for example, that is right to left, it will render properly on desktop, okay, as a right to left. But if you go to mobile, it actually is reversed. The way, basically the effect that you're seeing right now on the screen with RTL.
Oh.
Yes, so, and the same with Twitter, by the way.
So it's inconsistent between even the like at different applications.
It's even the same application with different platform, right? Hangouts, same thing. What you see, the way that it aligns it, like the algorithm that they use to decide whether to align it right or align it left, right? Based on whether there is a right to left language in there or the majority of the post is right to left, whatever they use is inconsistent between their desktop experience and their mobile experience, which is very problematic because if I send you a message, right, and we're going to see how these things can flip and actually change the meaning of sentences. So if I send you a message through my mobile device and I know, okay, this is going to look a certain way, you might actually get it reversed. Oh, no. And read it differently.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the problem of right to left, even these kind of things, when I said, right to left users, they don't really expect much, that's why it's really difficult to kind of, figure out how to write right to left online properly, because everything you do ends up with somewhere it's broken, either for you or for someone else. And there's a lot of tricks that people come up with during, over the years to try and still send what they want to send, even though in one system it looks this way and in another system it looks
right.
that way.
Yeah, I mean that's. I'm just imagining we've seen in English the thing that causes that kind of chaos is like comma usage, right? Like you've seen the jokes about the Oxford comma or like it's like the let's eat.
Yes.
This one, like these are whoa. Where am I here? This kind of joke, right? Like these are minor things. So I can imagine that if I as a oh my goodness, what is that URL? I'm sorry. But if you think about that as like not just me forgetting to put a comma in, but me writing a sentence and then having the computer just actively change my sentence with some kind of half implemented best guess, that sounds like a recipe for chaos.
Yes. And here's an example. So there's in Hebrew, you can say like, it's a very gendered language. So every object has a gender similar to Spanish. And a couple of years ago, something changed with the way that you say specific words. And I was looking up to see, okay, how is the Academy of Hebrew recommending that I would say noon, right? There was an argument about whether it is a sound or an o sound. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to look it up. So I did, and I found a Facebook post. And I was looking through my mobile device. And because I know right to left language, I immediately noticed that the Facebook post is not aligned correctly. It is left to right, even though the post itself is right to left. What they did was they used transliterated Hebrew, the Academy that what told you should use, right? Like you should say this word this way. They wrote it in Hebrew, but when they said this way, they used the transliterated word to English because English has like O sound and A sound. So they said like tso instead of ta, right?
Okay.
But because it was aligned to the left, and those were the two words in English inside a post that was completely Hebrew, the two words flipped.
Oh no.
So they have very effectively given me the wrong advice, but only in mobile.
Oh no, that is great. Okay, so that sounds like this is like my worst nightmare. It's because like I spend so much time thinking about communication and clarity and this idea that because we haven't implemented these things well, we're making it impossible to have clarity. That is really challenging, because that also means, right, if I'm understanding this correctly, that on desktop, it's correct.
Yes.
So on desktop, I get the right answer. On mobile, I get the wrong answer. And there's nothing that they could have done to fix that.
Well, they could have made it consistent, Facebook.
Well, Facebook could have made it consistent, but
Yes.
the person posting, like their only way to combat this is to make it an image.
Yes, either make it an image or, and these are types of kind of hacky stuff that users do. What I do when I don't know where, like my mom or my friends are going to read this, and it is important to me, I insert a new line in front of every English word. So I write like, my Hebrew, and then new line, to, new line, instead of new line, sa. And then if each one of them is in a new line, you have like your order top to bottom, right? Like you have your order set. Like they can't flip because they only flip when they're internally inside a sentence. So if you have your new line, your new messages, you know for sure that is the right order.
Okay.
That also is not great
Sure.
to communicate this way. but those are some of the tricks that in chatting, right? Like in SMS messages, or now WhatsApp and Facebook and even Slack sometimes, you kind of like, if you really care about the way that it looks, you gotta.
So I like, I'm kind of making light of this, but it reminds me a lot of like when we're kids, and well, I guess anybody who grew up in my generation and had like an original Nintendo, and you'd be playing the game, but like to play the game, you didn't just get to play the game. You had to like get the cartridge, and then you had to pull it out, you had to blow in it, and then you had to like shake it just right, and then you had to plug it in 3 or 4 times, and then you'd finally get to play the game. So for you don't get to just use SMS. You don't get to just like chat with your friends. You have to like learn all of these hacks to make chat work.
Yes.
That's not fun.
No. But it is what it is. And the funny thing here is that as someone who is like involved in supporting right to left,
Yeah.
there are certain like tricks that are now so entrenched with right to left users that even when we fix them, so for example, there's some issues, and we might be able to start looking at that, but there's some issues with arrow movement. So if you use your keyboard to go like right, and you're in a context where you have 2 languages, like English and Hebrew together, or English and Arabic and whatever, your cursor will move around, right? There's a perfectly good technical reason for it, but for the user looking at it, it looks very weird, right?
Yeah.
So it's sometimes like not very clear, like where you put stuff, whatever. And in Wikipedia, in the editor, where you edit, kind of like when you edit articles and whatever, the visual editor, we really took a lot of care to figure out like where the cursor should move to. What happens if you have like, Hebrew and then an image in the middle? Is right means right or left or whatever? And when I was talking to my friends to kind of like look at that, they were so used to it not working. They had trouble with the fix. They were like, what? And we were like, but it's working. It's like, but it's not the way I'm used to. Yes, because you're used to broken. And it took a while for them to understand, like, oh, that's right. I'm doing like hacky stuff in order to do that. And I don't need to here, but they're so used to the hacky stuff that it was time to like snap them out of there is a better way to do this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild. Okay, so somebody earlier asked, what can we as developers do to improve this, and so I'm kind of interested in seeing that as well. It sounds like this is not something that you just like, hey, let's just fix this today, but it's maybe something that we can make some small improvements on.
Yes.
So I would love to dig right into that, and if we want to do that, what is my first step?
So one more introduction to something before
please.
we do that. I want you to go back to the English Wikipedia.
Okay.
Or the Arabic Wikipedia, even better.
Okay.
And then at the end of the URL, we're going to add a parameter. So at the very end of the URL, you should add a question mark. And then use lang. So it's the same word, use lang, equals. Okay. See, but equals en. So what you're telling the system right now is show me everything in English. Now look what happened, right?
Oh.
You are still in the Arabic Wikipedia. The content itself is still Arabic.
Right.
But your interface switched. right? This is very useful if you're multilingual, but you don't have as high of a control, of the other language. So you do want your settings and menus to be in a different language, but your content to still be that language. Now, the reason I show you this is that when the right to left website was completely right to left and the left to right website was completely left to right, it was a little bit more straightforward. You can kind of say, well, everything flips. But the majority of time online, it is not 100% right to left or 100% left to right. First of all, even in right to left languages, numbers are left to right. You also have abbreviations or names of stuff in English. So you always have some sort of mixed stuff in that makes it a mixed directionality rather than complete directionality. And that's where a lot of the troubles come in.
Right.
So now that we've kind of seen how that gets complicated, we can maybe delve into trying to see what we do when we develop apps and what to kind of like look out for.
Yes. So I cloned, this is a repo that let me bring this over here. So we'll just drop this over here. And now I'm ready. So I guess I'll just open this up so we can peek at it. All right. So we have a View app, and inside of it, we've got.
So the important, I think, bits are if you go to main, because I kind of shoved it in there. So main.js. So I'm using something called the Banana View Banana ITN, which is a tool developed in the foundation in Wikimedia for translation. Okay. And you can kind of see what it looks like. There's a const message, and then there's an English translation, and then below it the Hebrew one. I made it so that you won't need to type any other language other than English. But it is a super cool tool. It also allows you to do gendered languages, plural, a lot of tools that we use at the foundation. So
nice.
So I did that, and then it's just a really basic View app for us to tweak.
Great. So let's fire this thing up. So I'm going to go look and see. We've got serve. So I'm going to npm run serve. And this will get this thing up and running for us.
I'm like crossing fingers because, the demo effect is...
Let's see. Here we go. Running at 8080. Okay, here is our app.
So I just wanted something where we can basically type in information, see how it presented, and then wait for us to flip the direction to examine it. So this is kind of a really simple guest book app, I guess, where just add it in. Nothing is saved in the there's no database or anything. It's all Vuex. So if we refresh, we'll lose. But you can see your name, your email, a message. All of these are just simple inputs. I am using Vuetify in here because we're going to talk about external libraries and how well they support right to left. Vuetify supports right to left very well, but it is all or nothing. And we're going to see what the problem is with that. So you either have it for right to left or for left to right.
Okay.
You can't have a little bit of a mix between them, which is common, unfortunately, but also produces some issues. So this is just a really simple app, hopefully without too many bugs, but And then on the very top, I made a little switcher. So you have a switch between left to right and right to left. The only thing that this does, and you can go into the code if you want to see, but the LTR RTL, all that it does, I think it's inside the header. So the script itself, all it does is switch the dir attribute on the a little bit below there's there we go. So you have
here
document body dir either LTR or RTL. So I'm changing, and then I'm telling Vuetify to change itself too. So that's basically
got it. Great. So then if I click this, boom, There it goes.
Yes.
Left to right. Right. And then if I switch it over to Hebrew, we get Hebrew.
That's right.
Okay. All right. So
Perfect.
in the abstract, this all makes sense, right? But I can see some things that confuse me. Like when I clicked this, these jumped all over.
Yes.
And the position of colons got moved in a odd like that. Look at that. That's weird.
Oh yeah.
And then there's like, does it move them for me? Oh, that's so weird. Okay.
I was waiting for this. Excellent.
Oh my goodness, that is really disconcerting.
Yes. So even if you add exclamation point, and now continue. Now do space and continue writing.
Ah. Oh wow. Okay. All right. So that's a lot.
Yes.
Okay. I see the problem. And so I also see what you mean. Like, so your workaround for this is to like end up typing all the messages like this.
Yeah. If you have a system that completely doesn't support anything, then you start like, writing like each message underneath one another. Mm-hmm. So just very, very quickly, just so that it maybe explains why this happens. There's the Unicode bidirectional algorithm that is meant to support bidirectionality. So what happens when two languages are there, right? So you're typing in English, it's the context is right to left. I'm going to do like a really, really brief intro to it. There's in RTL WTF, there's actually like a full intro to what it means and what it does. But overall, I think the main important things to think about is that when we think about directionality, we think about the context, right? So where am I? Am I in the context of left to right, the context of right to left? So when you're inside the text box, you're in the context of right to left right now, because the text, so it is aligned to the right. But when you're starting to type, right, you're typing English, the internal context of English is left to right. The main context of the input is right to left. Mm-hmm. Punctuation goes at the end.
Right.
Now, if you just put a punctuation after a sentence, so even if you wrote English, internally that the English will be left to right, right? Mm-hmm. You'll be able to read it, but then the punctuation will go at the end, which because the entire text box is right to left, it'll go to the left. Once you continue the sentence after the punctuation, then suddenly the punctuation is wrapped within English, so its own context is now left to right. So it jumps back and keeps going with you. So
what's incredible about this is that what you're describing is like the same, it's the sort of challenge that we deal with in programming all the time, where you're dealing with like scope hoisting and the issue of like, we have independent units of state, but how do we get them to talk to each other, but not, it's like, hey, computer, do it this way. Oh, wait, not like that, right? Like it's very, I can see how immediately hairy this gets, and the part of me that fears state management is already sad for the way that I assume we have to fix this.
Yes. You can even delve even deeper. Let's start over with the message.
Okay.
Let's say that you just want to write span, or you know what? I'll start it easy. Just add like, message where there's an HTML like strong tag or something, right? So. Oh. Now, did you notice what happened?
Yeah.
First thing when you started writing.
I did not like that at all. Yeah.
So the first thing that happened is that your open tag presented exactly reverse, right? Did you notice that? There we go.
Look, and it got super weird.
Now put another text inside the strong and close it.
Ah. I hate it. Thanks.
I know. You're welcome.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. This is maybe
Anytime.
the most thanks I hate it moment we've had on this show.
Oh, excellent. You know what? I'll take it as a moment of pride. So my recommendation in this kind of thing is that the less you have right to left users write HTML in a box that's aligned right to left, the better. Do
Mm,
visual. You like have something that splits it. See what the actual purpose of this is, and see if you can make it better. Even try to use like Markdown, right? Which has its own challenges, but at least it's a little better. Like you can actually like, okay, only the hash goes in the beginning. At least I know this. Not suddenly everything is starting to flip around and go all crazy. Also, if you use Markdown, and if I write it in completely in Hebrew, then it makes sense. It's all just right to left starting, right? But if I write Hebrew and I need to write HTML, I have to write the English tag names, right? Like strong has to be in left to right. So try to use things that are not HTML inside a right to left align box. That is my recommendation. There is no way to really properly solve the jumpiness part unless you want to start programming, like reprogramming the way that the text area works, right? Like with
right.
basically you're re-implementing an editor. So don't do that.
Woof. Okay. And is this something that we can so you can even do something like say, all right, we know we're going to write HTML in this box. So force this to be left to right, like English, so that the HTML
Absolutely.
doesn't jump around.
100%. So let's go back to writing it in. Let's just flip it around.
Okay.
So let's do a nice little experiment. Again, I don't know. I'm kind of like, should I make you cry or should I wait a little bit? I'm not sure.
It's been a while since the chat's seen me cry, so we can just go ahead and jump right into it.
All right. So try to write. Let's do like a very quick kind of link, right? Like href like to wherever. All of it in English. You can put like blah blah whatever. And so everything works because it's right to left. It's left to right. It's all good. Let's add let's say a title prop or either alt or title, doesn't matter, after the href, right? So title, blah, whatever. Now so this looks great because you're left to right, you're writing left to right, excellent. But if you're writing, right, HTML now for a right to left language, right, then both the title and the text of the link will be in right to left language, right? Well, let's try that out. So in the README, I posted, there's examples of a couple of strings that you can just copy. This is VS Code.
This is VS Code.
Okay. See if you can mark them here. You might want to mark them online because there's also, let's see if you can mark them. Does that work?
Yep, it works.
Okay. It's just, there's also different ways where the mouse movement, cursor movement moves.
It definitely tried to argue with me.
Yes. And yet you see, exactly right. So that it might be easier for you to copy it when it's on GitHub, which is a whole other issue. All right.
Okay. So all right. Oh no, things got really weird. Look.
Yes.
Look.
Which one's which?
Oh my God.
Which one is the title and which one is the text of the link?
I don't know anymore.
Me neither. Well, I kind of do because I know what happened, but no one exactly. So when you say, well, let's just stick it to LTR.
So
yes,
don't do that.
But be careful. Generally speaking, visual way of editing is better. I mean, this is also the reason why there is inconsistency a little bit between the way that right to left languages are displayed inside IDEs. And this is part of the reason why I have like 3 IDEs that I have to pick between, because I think VS Code, for example, as you saw, does render Hebrew the correct way. So right to left, it shows it. But it is also fairly good in keeping it contained. But because it does it right to left, sometimes when you write code, you run into the problem that you're looking at the screen right now, where essentially what happened here is that the two Hebrew words you're seeing, they're actually supposed to be the other way around, right? So the word that you see on the right is actually the title, and the word that you see on the left is actually the content of the link. They flipped.
Right. So it took, so we're English, 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 English. We get here, and then it flips.
Yeah.
And now we're at title, end of the title, end of the tag, link text, and then it flips again.
That's right.
Nope,
and
that's
you
it.
Can see
I'm done. I got it. I just got it.
Yes.
Sheesh. Okay. All right. So I can see. Yeah. All right. I do kind of want to cry, to be honest.
Yes, I was trying to go slow, to kind of like, well, I'll just introduce you slowly, but here we go. So yeah, it's a mess. So also consider for example, an input somewhere. Sometimes we have like a dialogue or something that asks us to put JSON object or to edit a JSON object. If you have a JSON object where the keys and the values are right to left language, they flip on you. It is the most frustrating thing ever. You don't know which one is the key and which one's the value unless you really look in. So yeah, every time you have these kind of things, I think these are actually good indicators for rethinking your UX in general, because it might actually not be like a great UX for general, even for left to right users to fill in a JSON object. Like maybe think about something that is graphical. So you can see you put both words, they flipped. I'm seeing you cry, so I think you noticed. That's right.
Look at it. It's left to right. Not anymore.
That's right.
Oh my God. Oh, that is brutal.
Yes. So yeah. So yes. So these kind of things are maybe, a visual editor with buttons that make it bold for you rather than having the editor write it. Stuff like that. That might be better. Or as I was saying with IDEs, some of the IDEs do not support actually like bidirectionality. So when I type Hebrew in them, they will type it backwards. And very, very ironically, I sometimes need that because that is preventing the exact problem that you're seeing in front of you now where things flip.
Right. Well, and so yeah, like 503 is asking, so we can't close the link tag. This link tag is closed. This is a complete, it will render properly.
Yes.
Woof.
Yeah.
That is, yeah. So, okay. So let me
submit it.
Let's submit it.
Yeah. Oh no, what did I do?
Oh, it just got sanitized, which is probably the right way to approach that.
Oh no, I made it not sanitized. Perhaps we didn't write it. Oh, it might have. Okay. Oops.
Many things may have gone wrong here. Let me try again.
Did we not close it properly?
Thought we did. Let's
That's so.
Let's try one. See if it'll work this way.
Oh no! Oh, did I not do it right?
I think they're sanitized. We can clean that out. Let's jump in and let's see. Is it entries?
Entries, yeah. I thought that I was. No, I didn't. I played around with this. That's right. Okay. Yeah, we can put it in. I think VHTML. I think it is right.
Is it so just VHTML like that?
I think so, and then the entry message.
And is it just entry.message like this? I don't write a lot of views, so I always forget.
I think you need a colon before VHTML, but I'm actually not 100% sure. We're going to learn together now.
All right, let's try it and see what happens. Hey, yep, there's the links. So these are valid links despite looking broken.
Yes. And I see a note here that the, I don't know, you call it the closing tag, the closing, what is this sign? Where am I?
We call those pointy boys.
Those. Excellent. They flip at the end. But
right,
the reason
right.
that they flip because when they are inside the context of right to left, the rendering of it flips.
Mm-hmm.
So really, when you look at your keyboard, it is lying to you. That symbol is not actually what you're going to get when you click that symbol. What you're going to get is opening bracket.
Yes,
whatever that means for your content. See,
this is the part that I was struggling with. So I am now going to press what I consider to be the opening parentheses key. So Shift 9, and it looks on my keyboard like I just pressed Shift 0.
Yes.
That is very disconcerting.
Yes. Yes. They consider, so Shift 9 and Shift 0 are not really left parentheses and right parentheses.
Right.
They're open parentheses and closed parentheses. And the same with the square brackets, curly brackets. I think I'm trying to think of any more. There's probably a couple more.
Yeah, curly boys, pointy boys, square boys, round boys.
All of them.
All of them.
All of them just flipping around.
It doesn't happen to, oh, thank God. I was worried it was going to happen on like front, like slashes and backslashes. And I was just going to have to leave the room.
I know. It does not happen to slashes and backslashes, thankfully.
Yeah, this is a challenge. Okay, so you said the solution is to make it visual, and that's really the only solution. There's not a way to trick the computer into saying like, hey, maybe don't do that in this field.
I mean, there is if you stop supporting. So this is the IDE that literally does not support right to left, like writes it backwards, thinks that it is LTR that is backwards. That supports adding those links because it avoids the flipping, right? So you could, it just depends on context. Like if you are a developer and you have to write code, then there are ways to do this where, some of the IDEs will just allow you to like insert it without breaking your brain or crying. And then you continue. But if you're a user, like online on the web, it's really difficult. There's not a whole lot of ways to do this properly without flipping. So either you users know that this is what's going on, which is what basically happens in Hebrew Wikipedia. If like they do sometimes need to add in HTML tags. And then what they do either is create their own templates. So they're kind of like, instead of writing, the brackety stuff, strong, blah, 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 they create a kind of a template that uses Hebrew words. So it's all right to left, right? And says like, yeah, I'll give you basically a function kind of thing, right? Where I say, this is going to be a link. Here's the title and here's the URL. And then you have a lot less of a confusion. So they do that.
Yeah, I got you. So almost like a kind of like a text expander sort of thing, where you would kind of, I don't have any of those on my computer right now, but where you would say like, I want to do a link. So you type like link, and then it would actually ask you for fields, but it does all of the construction for you.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah. Something like that where you can have that. So they either do that, or they use the visual editor, which has like a button to have a link that asks you that, right? Like there's not a whole lot of ways to fix, like, I want to write HTML with like, right to left on the web. It's just, it's very, very difficult.
Okay. So are there like, what I feel, I'm just like,
so there's a bunch of things that we can fix. Do we want to?
Yes.
Let's feel
fix
better
what we
about
can.
ourselves. Yes. All right. So the first thing that you kind of noticed, and correctly, I put it in on purpose. You see that one of the entries to my lovely guest book is whether you're left-handed or right-handed. If you go back to left to right, so let's flip with that. That makes a little, right? Like it left-handed with an arrow to the left.
Like, hey, my left hand and my right hand,
and each one of them is in the right position. Like the left is on the left and the right is on the right. When you switch to right to left, because all I did was put direction right to left, it flips the entire page. It also flips the positions of these, right? So now the left, it's kind of, wait, my left hand is on the right, which shouldn't happen.
Right.
So this is
Mostly
kind of an
because
example
it's just
to
really
say,
hard to type like this.
You could try, I guess, but although my dad uses the mouse on the left-hand side, and I can't understand. He's left-handed too, and I just can't. I don't think I'll ever be able to.
Oh, that's a lot. Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Nope, my brain won't do that.
It's not, just can't. No. But anyway, so I wanted to show this to say, initially we said, hey, just flip everything.
Right.
Well, not everything. So be thoughtful about this. If you have something that there's a really strong reason for it to stay on the left, then don't flip it. So we can go to, I think it's the form, right? The identity form.
Here?
Yep. And so these are all the labels. And then find the handedness one, this one. And so if we have dir, so the attribute dir, direction, dir, or equals LTR. That's one way to do it. Okay, so you will stick it always, even if you're right to left, to always be left to right. Now, that's okay, except that also means that if you translate now, so if you go to Hebrew, now you get the other problem where it is in the correct position where the arrows are, but look, exactly, like your punctuation is the wrong way, because now that entire section is stuck to be left to right. So the other thing that you can do, so there's a bunch of things that you can do here. This is flex. You can also just stick it always to be left to right, whatever. But another thing that you can do, which might be even better, is anywhere that you know that you're going to have either user-generated content where you don't know which language it's going to be because, or if it's mixed or not, or wherever you're going to have translated content that can be either, you can do something that we called isolation. Okay. So we take that string and we tell the computer, whatever your general context here, this little bit is isolated. So judge it by its own content.
Okay.
And there's several ways to do that, but the best one, in my opinion, or the quickest one, is the tag BDI.
Like that?
Yes. And then close it at the end, just before the label.
Okay. But that's probably not for, I need to do it around the whole input?
No, just the text is good. Where you put it, it's actually perfect. It's because you want the computer to know what to isolate.
And do I keep, I don't want to keep this dir, do I?
So the direction of the entire div, right, will mean that we are keeping the logical direction of whatever's inside it in a left to right way. Right, which means that it will keep left on the left and right on the right.
Okay.
Now, I will, before I get there's a lot of ways to fix all of these things. I just don't want to overcomplicate us. Right. The price of kind of saying dir LTR is that you see the location of the oh my gosh, it's not checkbox, it's options. No.
The radio?
Radio. So those locations will always stay on the left because the entire thing is left to right. So it's not perfect solution. I would recommend instead sticking either float or making the flex always this piece is always on the left instead of logically arranging. It's just a little longer to handle here. So I wanted to. But
we can see that by using that BDI tag, we only did it on this one. The exclamation point is in the right place instead of being stuck to the beginning of the word. So if we go and add that down here as well, and add one more. Okay, so I'm not going to save this yet. So looking again, this is at the beginning of the sentence. So that kind of what was disconcerting for us about being down here when I say hello, right where the exclamation point, even though I typed it at the end, showed up here, that's what's happening here. So if I save that, okay, it looks right in English. So let's switch it back to Hebrew. And I did it wrong. What did I do wrong?
Oh, no, Where did you put the BDI? I didn't.
Did I put it in the wrong place? I thought I put it around the form hand right.
No, this should be fine. What is happening?
I probably just didn't. Maybe I need to reload the page.
Ooh, what's happening?
What have I done? Did I typo this? BDI.
Should be fine. I'm looking at. This is the input.
Weird.
This is the label. You put it in the right place. This is the BDI. Did I mess up the translation? Let's go to index. To main.js.
Main.js, and then we'll look here, and it was
handedness.
Hand right.
Oh, oops.
Oh, did you?
I'm gonna walk away now.
Wait, hold on. So I just need to move this. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So much is happening.
Yeah. This is the problem here. This is why I accidentally did this. And this is the problem. Like VS Code is really great that it supports Hebrew, but this is what you're experiencing right now is exactly why I sometimes go to an IDE that doesn't support right to left at all.
Yeah.
And it will write it backwards for me, but that's fine. I know exactly where everything is. That is exactly the reason why I guess I could pretend that this was totally on purpose to show you, right? Like how things work.
Okay. But if I save this now, it should.
I put there we go. I put it in the wrong location.
Yes. And I had to cheat by adding this space to like reset the position.
Yeah. So where the end is.
Yeah. And I think if I delete this,
this should be okay.
It should be okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. The space was more for kind of like the cursor and you to figure out where the end is.
Yeah.
But this should be okay.
Okay. So now we have everything's in the right place.
Yeah.
Woof.
Yes.
Oh, let's just can we get an oofda in the chat? Oh my goodness, that is a lot.
Yeah. So another thing that we can already see is that the way that the spacing is done is not great. So
all right. So that's exciting. So our spacing is a little bit wonky. And is that so? Actually, I have a question about this with CSS. So if I set when I look at my right to left and my left to right, let's go to English. Which spacing are we talking about here?
So I think I fixed. And now we can't see it. The inputs, I told them to be like 100% width. So we can't see the spacing between like name and the input. But I was kind of seeing that when you switch the order around, like when you switch to right to left, left to right, because initially I put, margin right or padding right or whatever. Mm-hmm. When you switch it around, you don't have a padding left. So you need to also consider that if you allow for kind of like switching around, your styles need to adjust too. Like you now have
it's not going to just flip our design over. It's going to move things, but not adjust the CSS.
And you can see an example for that. So if you look at the logo, and so between the logo and the switcher buttons, right, there's a little line, a red line, like a thick red line. Mm-hmm. If you switch to right to left, that line moves. Mm-hmm. That is on purpose. So if we go back to the code of the header, so if you go to the CSS, you see that there are settings with two rules. Mm-hmm. When it's right to left, you have to put the border in the right with some padding. But when it's left to right, you have to put the border in the left. So you have to be very conscious about what you're flipping and how. And then put your CSS rules accordingly. There are tools that help you do that, by the way. So there's CSS Janus that we use at the foundation.
Janus, like the name?
Yes.
Can I spell Janus?
Oh no, Janus. Janus. Sorry. There we go. So this is CSS Janus. So if you write something like I don't know, margin left, that's right. You'll see.
Oh,
Yes.
that's nice.
So it does it automatically for you. And it also has exceptions. So you can tell it, okay, flip everything except this bit, which helps you in cases where you have like, left, center, right buttons where I want you to flip everything except these buttons, stuff like that. So you have exceptions to it. This will also flip images for you. So you can have icons that are called pencil LTR and pencil RTL, and it will automatically flip between them.
We have questions in the chat about CSS Logical Properties. I'm not even sure. I don't know what those are. Do you know what those are?
So are you talking about logical versus... Can you expand about that? Are you talking about logical versus visual? Are you talking about the BiDi?
Oh, margin start versus margin left.
Okay, yeah. So I was about to. Yes. I don't know if they work on all browsers already? The margin start and margin, I think not, right? Like they're not yet actually supported. So the idea here is that exactly what I'm showing with, like, you need to do margin left, but then when you're right to left, you need margin right.
Looks like they do have pretty decent support here.
I actually did not know that they're supporting so many now.
Hooray!
And that is awesome. Thank you.
So okay, so then if that is supported, let's look. Let's
give it a try.
Padding block start. That is a thing. Yep. So I would say padding block start. Right to left, we want the padding right. Left to right, we want padding. Yes, okay. So that's start. And then I would theoretically be able to get rid of all of this.
Yeah, so the border, you need border too.
Oh, do we have a border start?
Do we?
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, border block start. Okay, so let's do border block start. Is this just going to work? This is going to be amazing. No, I did that very incorrectly.
Apparently the start is on the top bottom. Yeah, because it goes so.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good thing, because I haven't really used these directly. If anyone knows which one would be like this, the logical start of the right or left, that would be great. Otherwise, we'll have to put. Is it inline? Is it start with?
Is it inline?
Oh, we have guesses here. I actually am not sure.
Where's my... Show me more. Border bottom, border left. Yeah, well, I wanted... Inline is top bottom. Okay.
Okay.
Well, we did... Hey! Okay, but I screwed up part of it, so it's going to be inline.
All right.
Wow! Okay, so let's switch it. Hey! That's slick. I didn't even realize this was in the works, so that is very exciting to see.
I didn't realize it has such a big support now. I was still thinking about it. That's kind of like, oh, will it come already to be everywhere? And I'm very happy to find out that it does. So
all right, so I'm gonna
100%. Yes, thank you for that.
This is for older browsers like IE.
If we still ever, yes.
I mean, I haven't been building anything for IE, but I am thrilled to see that compatibility chart. Like I love it when the only thing left is IE, because it really feels like, unless you're building like a corporate intranet or something like that, you don't have to worry too much about IE. I mean, I know usage in certain areas is significantly higher, but
yeah. I think in educational, right, like entities like universities around the world still might use it. So
interesting. That was one I hadn't heard. But yeah, we could put a supports block. would be a great way to handle that.
Yes. So I think the biggest thing about, and also the logical properties, start thinking in general instead of from the left or from the right with start or end. I encounter these things also with like, instructions. So fill in the, and click the button to your left. That's not true in right to left. So when you give instructions, when you write things, when you put like, arrows to continue or whatever, prefer the words like, continue or to the beginning or towards the end or stuff like that.
Yeah, or like the following button, not the button to the right or something like that. Yeah, that's a great way to reframe that.
Especially if you build a library. So a lot of libraries where you have pop-ups, right? And then the pop-up positioning is going to be like top left, but it flips for right to left. So now in right to left, it's top right. So now you're really breaking your brain trying to use those pop-ups.
You're like, okay, so the setting is top left, but it's actually controlling top. Yeah, okay, it hurts.
Yeah. So just call it start, call it, beginning, call it, towards the beginning, like whatever that, instead of like, prefer those instead of like, left and right, which could flip around. So I can show you another thing. So if you try to let's try to fill in the email again. I think you already know where this is going in the email, right?
I'm already sad.
Oh no, you're.
Oh wait, I
gotta.
Right, what am I doing? What am I doing? This looks exactly right. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Okay, good. And then it pops back. Oh, I still hate it. Oh, it's the worst. Okay.
So imagine filling in a URL too, right? I didn't do that to you, but imagine having like another field with the URL in it. This is actually easily fixable.
Oh, it's the worst. Oh, I hate it so much.
It's pretty bad.
Oof. Yeah. Okay.
The unfortunate thing about this is that it's really weird that, because what I was using here is input type email. And I expected it to just be left to right automatically because of course email is always left to right, but apparently it's not. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to stick it to always be left to right because that is the preferred thing for email. So yes, wherever that.
Where did it go?
Which one is
email, that? Email. And so with this one, we just, same thing.
Yes. So that one we add to the input itself. And then that would mean that no matter if you're right to left, left to right, that input is always left to right. So there we go.
Yeah. And my extension is reading the right to left and sticking on the wrong side of the input here, but that's okay.
You could, I think, align the text to the right while still like having LTR, I think with CSS or something. But
oh yeah, so down here we would say, let's go, here's my styles. We could say input type email, and we would go direction right to left, and we would say text align.
Oh, it will never have direction right to left because you stuck it on.
But wouldn't this would be if the document has it? Wait,
that's right. Yeah.
Will that do what I want? Let's find out.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'm going to go right to left. No.
But now your extension is reading it the other way around. Is that not?
That's weird.
I think it's because it's now properly LTR'd, so your extension is reading it. Yeah.
So I guess we could. How does that work? Why doesn't this should work though, right? Because it's
actually, I'm not sure that text align works on inputs. Is that?
Oh yeah, that could also be the case.
I'm not 100% certain.
Let's see what happens. I come in here and click this thing, and we'll apply the style directly to it. Nope, that definitely works. So
so what
why
happened?
don't you direction right to left? Do I need to like force
it should have worked. You're right. That this is less. I think the direction right to left is above the, or like form the above the wrapper of where you are right now, because this is a less rule.
Okay, so do it the way that you did it before, where it was.
Well, oh, ooh, maybe.
Because we don't have the direct.
Yeah, but we can also get it out of that rule. But yeah, I think that should work.
Okay, so let's try it. I'm gonna get rid of this important and see if it works.
No. No. I think you.
Oh wait, no, it's doing it now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, maybe I just needed to reload the page again. I think I'm maybe needing to reload. But that so that does what we want, because now when I type in my punctuation, it's not trying to fight me. But it's on the right side of, so the alignment's there. That gets us there. Okay, so that's a way to solve that problem.
Yes.
Now I just want to check if this is a less thing or if I just needed to refresh the page. So
I don't know.
Let's try that one more time.
I thought that it was before the
right to left. Weird. Why? I wonder why it does that, because as far as I understood, this is exactly the same rule.
I know. Oh, okay. No, they're not, because the ampersand includes all the ancestors above. So it includes both the form thing with the input.
Oh,
so you're effectively putting it in front of both of them.
Got it. Okay, so this is higher specificity. I get it. I get it. Okay, cool. That makes sense. Well, cool. So this is very exciting. Text line right is not also flipped. Fortunately, I would have to just walk away, I think. Like this is a lot. Like there's a lot to keep in mind here, and I mean, we've solved like 2 problems, and I feel like it took a pretty significant rewiring of the way I'm picturing these things. So what, let's see, we've got, like, knowing that we've got maybe 12 minutes left, is there anything else that you wanted to show off here?
So I think that the biggest thing when you're looking at your own interface, especially when you're thinking about user generated stuff, so you're expecting input by users, their username may be mixed, they're like, things. I think that it's really important to think about your UX in general. A lot of times thinking about the way that like right to left in languages would work will expose a lot of problems in general with your UX that you should just consider for users, and really be thoughtful about what is interface versus what is your content. So what should flip for right to left and what should not, and what should be isolated. So these are things that are kind of a step ahead of, okay, now I go in and fix it. Because as you saw, there's so many ways to fix everything. And there's so many things that could go wrong or not wrong, that it really depends on what is the website that you need to like deliver. What kind of features do you have in them? What kind of interaction is your user expected to have? And try to make sure that you are consistent. So don't show the user one thing that renders right in the editor, renders one way, but then when they post it, renders another. Like, be consistent between those experiences. This is, I think, the biggest thing that I can say that is also very problematic outside. But yeah, we can go as deep as, you have like 5-6 more hours. I don't know.
Well, so maybe what we can do is rather than hunting down specific issues, are there places that people can go if they want to start seeing like how they can tackle these issues in their own, or even just how to test this? Like, because one of the things that I'm thinking about right now is that as somebody who does not speak or read a right to left language, I'm not sure, outside of what we just did with, punctuation, right? I'm not sure how to even assess whether or not it's working, because I can't tell when I set like, none of this looks particularly out of place to me, right? Because for me, my brain is going, well, clearly this is the first character in this sentence. So is there like a resource for somebody who wants to test or who wants to kind of get a sense of how to even start breaking these problems down?
So first of all, RTL WTF, I hope I have a lot of resources there. You can kind of get the experience, but not only do you get the experience, there's also a write-up for you to go through the bidirectional algorithm that is aimed kind of also for developers and what it does, all of that. Don't feel bad because it might break your brain twice if you read it, like if you both read it, what it does, but also read it in a way that is aimed at right to left people, like you see in this screen. So you do have the bailout button that sends you to LTR WTF that has the same content, except now it's kind of like more normally what you can read. So you can read that. There's also a bunch of text areas down there where it encourages you to try to select stuff or try to add a space here. What would happen? So it kind of shows what happens programmatically. And there are, yeah. Oh, and it's great because it's different between you marking it with your mouse and you marking it with like shift arrow.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and it's different in each browser. So
this is weird. Okay, so I'm currently, I started in the Hebrew, right? And now I'm going to do shift right. So I'm pressing the right arrow. I'm now moving to the left as I press the right arrow.
Yes, okay, because it's not the right arrow.
English.
It is forward, right? Or backwards.
Yeah. So this is left. This is right. Oh boy, that's okay. Woof. All right. This is, yeah. Okay. So this is a great resource. Like we should go look at this and get, the stuff.
And another really, really good website is rtlstyling.com.
Oops. rtlstyling.com.
Yep. This has a lot of resources about all of the things we talked about, including how to fix them, problems that have to do with underlined links in Arabic that produces issues, like things that letter spacing, logical borders, margins, etc. All of that kind of stuff. This is a really, really great resource.
Oh wow, there's a bunch in here. Yeah, lots and lots of good stuff in here. So that's excellent. Okay. Well,
see, now we're getting boops. Actually, it's poobs because I read them backwards. So.
Oh. Well, okay. So the chat has decided that we don't get to use the screen anymore. So, Moriel, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. This has been such a blast. I feel like I've learned a lot. I feel like I need to maybe sit down and just mull this over a beverage, like,
or a couple. It's been a pleasure. It's so great. I'm always really, really happy to introduce people to the magical world of right to left and get them to care about this, because I think that's the most important thing. So thank you. It's
really, really cool stuff. And so with that, one more shout, make sure you go and follow Moriel on Twitter. This is, this was fun. Tom Zors writes backwards. Okay. Make sure that you are aware, we always have white co-captioning here. We've got Amanda today helping with the live transcription of the show. And that is made possible through our sponsors, Netlify, Fauna, Hasura, and Auth0, all of whom are making this show more accessible to more people. You can always find that on the homepage during our episodes. And then you can head over to the schedule and look at all the amazing things we have coming up. We have an absolutely incredible list of guests coming on to teach us. It's going to be so much fun. We're going to learn about Node CLIs. We're going to learn about MongoDB. We're going to learn about HTML and CSS for beginners. Like, so many good things are coming. It's going to be a blast. I cannot wait. Make sure you go and click this Add on Google Calendar button so you can see more. And just for fun, you can also go and buy one of these rainbow corgi duck toys. Get your own little party corgi. Talk to all your problems. I'm going to be talking to my party corgi about all the things I just learned about right to left that I have to go. Now I got to think about that, right? So you need an emotional support duck, if you need a rubber duck to tell your code problems to, that's a place where you can go get one of those. I hope you enjoy them. I had a lot of fun making these. Chat, thank you so much for hanging out today. Thank you for doing some good boops. Thank you for sticking through the... I am really struggling with the backward text in the chat right now. Y'all are too much. Thank you all so much for hanging out today. Moriel, thank you so much for hanging out. I had an absolute blast. Chat, stay tuned. We're going to go find somebody to raid. Moriel, thank you. We will see you all next time.